Pentagon looks to breed synthetic organisms.
I saw that article.
And Dr. Beater first talked about synthetic
Yes, he
automatons
did.
back
Yep.
in the 80s.
So they can actually create synthetic humans,
Right, exactly.
which is what
And
Dr.
now-
Beater talked about. Yeah.
And now you can read the story on our Facebook sites. The other interesting story out there that you should go to, people can go to, is there's a YouTube, Brzezinski admits that the CFR manipulates affairs, policy, and legislation. So these guys are now coming out on even YouTube.
So why
and
would
admitting-
Brzezinski admit to that?
Well, because who's going to do anything about it?
Well, you know what? We talked about that before. Once the deal is done, it's already too late. It's a done deal. They've already done everything they wanted to do.
Yeah, once.
It's not what it is. And once it gets out, they've already done it.
Well, what you
It's
mean
like
is,
ClimateGate. They've already done the scam.
yeah, by the time it gets out, and we talk about it,
It's done.
it's already been done. It's years and of course that's not always true. I mean, when we were talking about it in the late 70s, it was in the process of being done.
Right. And a lot of these processes take a long time. And they've been planned even 200 years in advance. So we know there's a lot of plans going on. You've got the economic warfare between the U.S., Russia, and China now. Also, you know what? They've been speculating that in the next 6 months, Al-Qaeda is going to have many attacks, and the expression is everywhere. Everywhere. So a lot of false flag events happening, I'd say.
Yeah, well, we're looking for a false flag event in North America, probably at the Vancouver, but I don't think so. It's hard to tell. There's definitely something in the works. I think if anything, they'll need a false flag in Europe to unite Europe. But the interesting story is BAE Systems. People can go to Facebook site or Facebook and read it. BAE Systems has completed the acquisition of Advanced Power Technologies, Inc. And these are the companies that own the HARP and the Tesla Advanced Physical Principle Weaponry. BAE Systems and Advanced Power Technologies, Inc. And I have been in touch with people through Colonel Bearden over the decades and at these companies and their parent companies. And a lot of these guys now are reaching retirement age. They've moved up out of where they were living in the United States. Some have come to Canada, some have been elsewhere, but they're talking a lot, and I've met with a number of them at the airports, and they're talking a lot about this technology, and we're into the third and fourth generation of this equipment. And so that's an interesting story. Just to close out, I want to say, and then we'll get into our other topics.
Well, I had a few more stories.
Just Alex Jones Exposed. There's
What
a
did he
whole
do
website.
now?
There's a great website. I think it's called alexjonesexposed.com.
Oh, great. I want to
And
go look.
Before
that
the
up.
economic downturn, during the ads, the men were running through the banks. Remember that?
Yeah.
Now,
They're still running.
no, not still. They stopped for a while.
They did. They were kind of sauntering through.
They stopped running.
Now they're running.
I noticed
They're running out the back door.
They're running through the banks again. Now,
And they're running out the back door quickly.
and they're running out the back door.
Yep.
And the Canadian Bank of Imperial Commerce, Mrs. Mountbatten's bank, that commercial, they're running there through. And at the Chase Bank has an ad as well.
Yeah.
And so take your money, if you want to take your money out of the bank, put it for the percentage you're giving you, the amount of interest, it's not worth having in the banks. Take your money out of the banks and put it in a strong box somewhere in your house and bury it, right?
Yeah.
Or put
Just
a
hide
little
it.
bit in gold. And if you got
put it away.
Exactly. And the other thing is this, that that China, and you can see the article, China, it's on our website, it's on our Facebook site. China has given the orders to start dumping U.S. currency.
Yeah.
And it just came out today.
We knew this was going to happen.
We knew it was coming, and
I mean,
now the orders have been given.
And it's a done deal.
Yeah.
We knew it was going to happen, and that's part of Jacob's trouble. And we're going to talk about the tribes in a moment. And I just wanted to throw in that. Now, this is from Tehran. Iran began enriching uranium to a higher level. So, and this is, of course, over objections from the USA. they have this fear that eventually this uranium will be used for nuclear weapons. So, I mean, that's the Pentagon spokesman Jeff Morrell said U.S. Defense Secretary Robert Gaines believed the United Nations should slap new sanctions on Iran in weeks, not in months. So they're trying to get the United Nations to do something about that. And you know what? They may not even be doing anything, Lenny.
Well, once again,
I
what's
mean,
happening
that's just
here
another,
is
to set up the war thing, right?
well, once again here, the white pope is using the control of the muftis and Islam, which is
And the
their
Wahhabis.
sword, to so the white pope gets the president of Iran to come out and make these statements, and then the black pope gets the Pentagon to get ready to go to war with Iran. So the two sides, the white and black pope, spy versus spy.
Yeah.
It's spy of the old Mad magazine, spy versus spy. It's spy and spy.
Well, it's spy and spy.
They both spy
Yeah.
together, and one pumps up the Iranians, the other pumps up the Pentagon. The whole purpose is to move towards war, to kill a lot of Shiites. Why? We always say it. The Shiite leader claims divinity, and Rome will not put up with anybody claiming divinity in a religion other than theirs.
So we're the 12th Crusade, the Sunnis against the Shia,
Right.
the Shiites. And that's where we are right now. And of course, they're going to use anything to get that war started or to continue it.
There are a lot of police, just to wrap up before we get into our main topic tonight, which will be the lost 10 tribes. The police chiefs are resigning en masse.
I heard about that.
CEOs
and also
are
the
resigning en
What's
masse.
happening here?
And the Mossad murdered 530 Iraqi scientists, and those scientists were not on our scientist death list.
No.
These are other scientists.
This is just recent, is it?
Very
They just
recent.
recently did
Yes.
that? That's
Yeah.
horrible.
So the Mossad's been busy. Everybody's busy in the black op community, and I think that's about our headlines of the week, isn't it? Before we get into our in-depth report on the lost 10 tribes.
You know what? I think that's about it. Yeah.
Very interesting.
And we've got that, you know what George talked about, that serial killer we've got here in Canada.
Yes.
I think we've got a few of them.
Well, I'm sure there's a
Who?
lot here in Canada.
I know. So they,
Well, Canada's been a haven for, especially Toronto has been a haven for where the FBI and the CIA and store their black ops assassins when they're between missions, and that's why there's so many guns here, because the assassins and all their friends flock together, and they have to do something while they're
I just
between
found this-
missions.
I found this article here.
Yeah.
It says why we must oppose the WHO
Mm-hmm.
global tax proposals. So you know what? This is fresh on the heels of a Dutch investigation into the conflicts of interest. And this is, regarding the Council of Europe will be probing their role in creating and sustaining panic over the recent H1N1 outbreak in order to sell vaccines for Big Pharma. The World Health Organization is now considering innovative proposals for raising additional revenues, including World Health Organization levying a global tax on internet activity. What do you think of that? They want to tax internet activity. Oh, they're
I'm
going
not
bonkers
surprised.
there.
That's no surprise at all. But that's certainly of interest.
Okay, so what have we got on the
Let's
tribes? Let's get to the
before
tribes.
we get to the tribes, what we want to just point out is,
Yeah.
remember we were talking about the psychiatrist death list
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
exposed last April, and we want to just play a clip about the lone nut theory from our anti-fascist researcher, the famous Dave
Emery.
And Dave Emery picks up in the tradition, has inherited the mantle of Mae Brussel, the anti-fascist crusader. Her famous article, you should Google in and read it. It's called The Nazi Connection to the JFK Assassination.
And also Dave Emery, he's exposing the rise of the Fourth Reich in a lot of his audio bites too.
In all of it. And
Yeah.
he is
Yeah.
spitfirelist.com. And I suggest people, if you want to really zoom in on what's going on, is follow that. There's a recent one called the KKK and Palin. and there's a female KKK, and he talks a lot about